Hey there, everybody. Steve, good day to you. I knew I was gonna have to find a really kooky, bizarre story for you guys today because it's April Fool's Day. So I think I was successful in that endeavor. This is April 1st, 2021. And this is just, this story's funny to me more because I have no idea what motivated the actions engaged in by some of the individuals that will appear in this story. But before we get to that, remember as always to like, share, subscribe, hit up my Patreon, do all those little things to help my little channel grow. The link to my Patreon is in the description below, as well as the links to my Instagram and Facebook pages where I post stuff closely related to the content that I am doing here, as well as my main channel, Steve the Amateur Historian. If you haven't subscribed over there yet, get off your high horse. And all that said, it's April Fool's Day. But for some, April Fools is not a date to joke about. And one of those men was a guy identified in this story as Patrolman Morris, an officer of the law. Now, I know this happened in Oregon, but the article did not stipulate what town specifically it happened in. It only said that this incident occurred at a location known as Mixter Street, Mixter. I'm sure I could go home, look up Google Maps, and find out exactly where Mixter Street is in relation to an Oregon town. But at this moment, I don't know where that's at. But whatever town it was in, there was a patrolman by the name of Morris who was, like any officer, walking his beat and just trying to do his job. I don't know the guy's reputation. I don't know if he was well liked. I don't know if he was a crooked cop, so to speak. But whatever his reputation was, it seemed pretty clear that some people didn't like him. And there has to be, somewhere in the annals of history, there has to be some backstory about why a certain family that went by the name of Munson, why they did not like this guy Morris. There has to be some deep, dark story. Now, I don't know exactly what the law was like back then, what it may have specifically been like at this particular place at that particular time. And maybe Morris was just a guy that liked to bust people's chops, because this seemed, I don't know. Okay, again, I don't know the circumstances. This just seems like a pretty petty thing to cite someone for. So Patrolman Morris goes to this home of the Munson family on Mixter Street. And he serves them, with a citation for, the verbiage is so strange, I guess allowing dirt to be left on the sidewalk next to their home. I don't know, sidewalks were maybe more of a luxury back then, and if you disrespected them, you paid a hefty price. But it seems like, I don't know, maybe whatever the circumstances were, the Munsons had, I guess, allowed, they shuffled dirt. I don't know, maybe they were cleaning their yard out and they just shuffled some dirt off of their property onto the sidewalk. Someone complained, or Officer Morris is just out walking his beat, and he stops and just like, pulls out his book, writes a citation. And he probably wished he hadn't when all is said and done. Regardless of what this guy's backstory is. This is a cute little park, by the way. There's nobody here, which is kind of strange on a day like today. And lasting effects from the ice storm that happened over 3 weeks ago now, but there's still so many branches down. So Officer Morris goes up to the Munson's front door to cite them, speaks to the patriarch of the family, Mr. Munson, tells him this kind of silly little thing that he's being cited for. So, it seems dumb. I can understand Mr. Munson, Father Munson, whatever you want to call him, getting a little annoyed about this. I can understand him being like, oh, you flat foot, why don't you go out and catch some killers? Something like that. I don't know why he would have an accent like that in Oregon, but it wasn't just the father of the family that was mad. It was his wife and his kids that were also pretty mad about this. So all at once, the whole family, husband, wife, their 2 kids described as 10 and 12 years of age, they pull the talons out and they cease to just lash out and attack Patrolman Morris. And they just start attacking him. The kids are like kicking at his legs. The husband is probably, trying to punch him in the face. And this officer's having to fend off 4 absolutely deranged people. I mean, this is some real redneck stuff. And apparently one of the kids grabbed his cap, his patrolman's hat, and like threw it out in the street. I guess that was a way of the best way the kid could think of to say like F you to this patrolman. Ooh, hello. Big mutts. And so all hell's broken loose in front of the Munson home. There's just 4 people attacking a police officer, and the police officer's probably holding his own, fending off. I don't know if he's been trained for this particular type of scenario, but he's probably doing the best he can. But he's getting beaten up, he's getting bruised, he's getting worn down. And this family, it's like they forgot their rabies shots. Apparently a next door neighbor by the name of W.A. Robbins, probably heard the commotion, came running outside and was like, no, cease all this absurdity. And as the article put it, because, different times there's different verbiage for how certain things were described, but it says that as Robbins rushed to the scene, it says that Mrs. Munson, the wife, put him into retreat, which I can only assume means she came at him. I don't know, maybe she had some kind of weapon in her hand. She was frothing at the mouth, and she came running at this guy, and he was just like, sorry, officer, I'm gonna head out. But of course, as the fighting goes on, there's gotta be screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering and punching and smacking and jabbing. And, more and more people that live in the vicinity of the Munson home are hearing this and calling other police. So of course, finally, other officers arrive at the scene. They manage to, I guess, diffuse the situation the best they were capable of doing. But Patrolman Morris ends up he walks away from it, but he is all battered and bruised. He's probably done. I could see him just throwing his citation book down and being like, you know what? I'm taking a half a day today. Anybody want to take me to a hospital? So it finally got diffused, but it was just like, people, it's pretty rare that you see a whole family just go out of their mind ballistic and start attacking someone like a patrolman. We've all gotten cited, we've all gotten pissed, well, I shouldn't say we all, at least in terms of getting hostile with law enforcement. But some people yell at the officer, they'll the people will be plenty verbally abusive with the police. But other times you get a family going out and fully just talons out. Like, this was there's no way, like, this is not, I don't care what time period it is, this was not a viable, justifiable, mentally stable method to approach when dealing with the fact that you're getting cited for something that, yeah, maybe kind of a dumb thing to get cited for, but still, to go that far, ugh. So I'm thinking, what incited this? Were these people just wackos? Like, were they just degenerates? Were they all just, they were so fed up with the world that it was just one more thing goes wrong and we're all just gonna lose it? But apparently, at the time of their arrest, because obviously, I don't know if the kids got arrested because they were underage. Yeah, something probably happened to them. Sent to a reformatory school. But obviously, the husband and the wife, Mr. and Mrs. Munson, they were arrested. And when asked, why they lashed out and did this, Mrs. Munson was the only one that, at least I could see, that responded. And her response was that her family were blue bloods, which blue bloods essentially means that you're like, you're noble people, you're of a noble birth, you're higher echelon people, you're higher class, you're practically royalty. In fact, I think sometimes blue blood does refer to royalty. So yeah, her response was, we are blue bloods. Ooh, more mutts. We are blue bloods, and we didn't want to end up, she said she didn't want them to end up in the system. Oh, this boy is snarling. This mutt is snarling. He's like, you don't do that to my officer of the law. That mutt is the police officer's best friend. It's like, don't walk away, I want more stories. Anyway, a lot of dogs barking at me today. So yeah, apparently that was the reason given by Miss Munson. I don't know anything about their family. I don't know if they were really affluent and lived in like a really nice home, and maybe they were just some rich people that thought they could get away with obscene behavior. But honestly, the behavior that they engaged in, I don't know where that's coming from, but there's goats in the area. Anyway, yeah, the behavior engaged in by this family just screamed like, not to put too firm of a label on it, but like redneck degenerates. So this, I take away Miss Munson's explanation that they were well-to-do blue bloods who didn't want to end up having a police record because, oh, it would ruin our reputation. So they were worried about getting cited for letting some dirt sit on the sidewalk, which is totally something you could like defend and be like, it was silly, there was no reason for that flat foot to cite us in such a manner for something so small. So they were worried about having a police, or like, you know, showing up on a police record for that. But apparently they weren't worried about getting booked on assault after the whole family just mercilessly went open season beating the hell out of an officer of the law. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I think these people were just lunatics. And this officer, Morris, probably unknowingly, was walking into a lion's den when he decided, I'm gonna cite these people for leaving dirt on their sidewalk. This isn't a sidewalk. What am I doing? Yeah, I think they were just nuts. And I don't know, maybe they had this idea in their mind that they were of affluence, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it for a second. So yeah, they were busted on assault, as would make sense. And it probably affected their reputation, if they even had much of a reputation to begin with, but it probably affected their reputation a lot more, having assaulted a police officer, than if they would have just taken the citation and paid or gone to court or whatever they had to do for leaving the dirt on their damn sidewalk. I don't know. I don't know with people anymore. They're all nuts, the lot of them. And that's the story. That's my April Fool's story from many April 1sts in the past about one day in one town at one home on one street. Family went nuts and just beat the hell out of a police officer because they were noble. I guess. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that story. I enjoyed diving into that little venture. I feel sorry for Officer Morris, unless he was like just a jerk, in which case like I feel a little sorry for him, but not as much. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, as always, to like, share, subscribe, hit my Patreon. All those things that help a little channel like mine grow. The link to my Patreon is in the description below, as well as the links to my Facebook and Instagram pages closely related to the content that I'm producing both here, as well as my main channel, Steve the Amateur Historian. If you haven't subscribed there yet, go and do it. What are you waiting for? And one more time, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I'm really enjoying doing this. And I'll see you tomorrow.